the social credit score thing against China. This is something that I hear a lot of. This is definitely something in even casual conversation about China, people will bring that up, like, well, at least it's not like China because they have a social credit score. And so I was like very confused and trying to figure out where it's from because every single Chinese person I know doesn't know about this social credit score. And again, I found a white paper, I think in 2014. It was a white paper that discussed the potential of social credit score, but kind of in a way that was supposed to incentivize good behavior, I suppose. Incentivize good behavior, but also I think it was also a way of how do we deal with people that are breaking certain laws, like
Mm.
fraud, or, it wasn't like just crossing the street. It was something, or, it was something a little bit more serious like that, but it was a white paper that was discussing the implementation, like how do we deal with that? So I think that's where it came from. This is what I'm thinking. But you were born in China. You lived in China for most of your life, right? I know you lived in London for a little bit, but could you explain what is really happening with the social credit score? What your view is on that, basically.
Hmm. For a long time, I struggled to understand what are they referring to when the Western media are talking about a social credit score. I was really struggling to understand that because there's no such thing. And you can ask any Chinese people, they will look very confused. Like, what social credit score are you talking about? They look confused. But I do know a lot of foreign people, either from Western countries or African countries, Latin American countries, they came to ask random Chinese, oh, do you use the social credit score? And they also have this confused look on their face. Like, what are you talking about? But then the foreigner think, oh, the Chinese people just don't want to talk about the sensitive topic. No, the confused face is because they don't know what they're talking about, what you are asking. So the foreigners think, oh, it's too sensitive. You don't want to talk about it yet, right? No. So I was trying to find out what they mean. And there's one thing that probably similar to what they want to say, but it's not a government thing. You know Alipay, right? Alibaba, we have Alipay. It's a payment app. In China, we don't use cash anymore. We just go everywhere. We use our phone, e-payment. So there are two apps that belongs to two different companies. One is WeChat Pay, one is Alipay. And this system, this app belongs to a company. They have their own credit thing. But like based on your consuming history, based on like a spending history, you always pay back your credit cards, you always pay on time, so the good records. So they set their own score. Say, oh, you are good, you always use our payments and you pay your debt on time. So say we give you like 700 points. And what this 700 points can do, you can rent a public bike without deposit. You can rent a battery without deposit because we know you're gonna pay back your debt, right? But this is the company's decision. That's a company thing. Alipay, they have this credit thing called 芝麻信用, 芝麻 Sesame, Sesame credit. It just gives you a score on the app, and so you can rent their public rental bike for free without deposit. Rent another thing like for free for a deposit. That's it. That's the only function. If you have a terrible score, doesn't harm your life. You just don't use their public bike or just pay the deposit for a bike. So it doesn't cause any damage to your life. It's a company's decision. It's just like kind of bank cards. Banks want to do some. Oh, you use our bank card, we'll give you some like oil, cooking oil, or some like hair dryer. It's kind of this thing. So the only thing that's similar to what this Western media has been talking about is probably that, but it's not a government thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Because we have credit scores and it's actually it's a much wider
Mm.
reach than just a
Oh,
bicycle deposit.
really?
It
Oh,
definitely
so okay.
it affects like whether or not you can rent an apartment to live in. It affects so many things.
Oh.
So it's much, much worse, I think, than what you're describing. And also I think what's interesting, because I went to China last year for the first time in over 20 years, is that even though there's Alipay is everywhere, WeChat is everywhere, it seems like I heard that it's actually they have to accept cash if you present it. Like they're not allowed to
Yeah.
be like, no, you can't pay with cash, which is
Yeah.
already better than here. Here, there's a lot of places, even like the bus. You can't go
Mm.
on it without a credit card or a card. So you can't
Oh,
go on it with cash. So that's already like more
yeah.
choices than we're given.
I think
Um,
because for people with cell phones, of course, we can pay with our phones, but it's required by regulations by the government. You need to accept cash. That's for the like say older people. Older people, they don't have fancy iPhones. They don't have e-payment. They're struggling to use the current high-tech phones. They only know how to use cash. So that's like to take care of the older people or say people with disabilities or people like migrant workers from the village who don't have much education or just cannot afford a fancy phone. He only his hard earned money or cash. So what if these people want to use cash? You cannot refuse taking cash. So I mean, just like all the policies is just to take better care of the less privileged people, people with special needs.